Buckle up, everyone, because we're diving headfirst into a revolution. Not the kind with muskets and monarchs, but one that's shaken the world of energy, geopolitics, and even the way we fuel our cars. We're talking about the shale gas revolution.
And it's a story that unfolds with all the drama and intrigue of any historical epic.
It really is incredible when you think about it. Rewind to, say, 2006. Back then, the U.S. was practically synonymous with energy dependence. We were guzzling down oil like it was going out of style, relying on those friendly faces in the Middle East to quench our thirst.
Right, but fast forward to just a few years later, 2013 to be exact, and the picture couldn't be more different. The U.S. was pumping out a record-shattering 7.5 million barrels of crude oil every single day.
Talk about a turnaround. That's a 50% increase in oil production in less than a decade. It practically turned the entire global energy market on its head. Suddenly, America, the land of gas guzzlers and energy imports, could flex its muscles and say, we've got this.
Yeah, and it wasn't just about the sheer volume of oil and gas being extracted. It was the how and the who that made this revolution truly remarkable.
Okay, so riddle me this. How did we go from energy dependence to a potential energy superpower practically overnight? Was this some stroke of government genius? Did someone finally crack the code on cold fusion?
It's actually a lot more interesting than that. Forget government think tanks or big oil boardrooms. This revolution wasn't orchestrated from the top down. It was fueled by a small group of individuals. These were the risk takers, the mavericks, the ones who dared to challenge conventional wisdom, even when that wisdom came from experts and industry giants.
These were the folks who looked at a problem and saw an opportunity. Color me intrigued, because I'm already picturing a movie montage here. Who were these energy pioneers, these shale whisperers who dared to rewrite the rules of the game?
They were a diverse bunch, united by their unwavering belief in the power of shale and their shared willingness to take risks, to defy the naysayers, and ultimately to prove everyone wrong. In the words of Gregory Zuckerman, author of The Frackers, these modern-day wildcatters ignored the skepticism and derision of experts, major oil companies, and even colleagues to drill in rock they believed was packed with oil and gas miles beneath the Earth's surface.
Sounds like our kind of deep dive, a real band of rebels with a cause. But let's back up for a second, because I have a confession to make. I can never quite remember what shale actually is.
Okay.
Why don't you break it down for us? What is it about this particular type of rock that made it the energy industry's equivalent of a nasty spill on your new shoes?
Picture this, a delicious layer of cake batter. Tempting, right? But now, imagine that deliciousness trapped between two massive slabs of concrete. You can see it, you know it's there, but actually getting to it is a whole other challenge. That, in a nutshell, is shale. It's a rock formation loaded with oil and gas, but those resources are locked tight within the rock structure. Traditional drilling techniques were essentially useless, like trying to sip a milkshake through a coffee stirrer.
So how did they do it? How do you go from trying to sip a milkshake with a coffee stirrer to actually tapping into those shale reserves?
It all came down to two game-changing technologies: horizontal drilling, and a technique you've probably heard of, hydraulic fracturing, better known as fracking.
Fracking, that's the one that always sparks debate. But before we get into all that, let's break it down. What exactly is fracking?
Imagine using a combination of pressure and special fluids to create tiny cracks in that concrete slab, those cracks then allowing the trapped oil and gas to flow out. That's fracking in essence.
Okay, so they found a way to crack the code to get those fossil fuels flowing. But it wasn't easy, was it? We're talking about cutting-edge technology, years of trial and error, and a whole lot of persistence, right?
Absolutely. Remember George Mitchell, the Texan who was determined to unlock the Barnett Shale. He poured time, money, and sheer grit into making shale gas production a reality. At one point, his own son, worried about the mounting financial risks, tried to talk him out of it. But Mitchell was undeterred. He even said, and I quote, "I was pushing like hell to find gas, and they didn't want to upset me."
Talk about a man on a mission. It sounds like he was more than just a businessman. This was personal for him. He was determined to prove that shale could be conquered. So we've got Mitchell down in Texas wrestling with the Barnett Shale. Who were some of the other larger-than-life characters making waves in the shale game?
Well, up north in the Bakken Formation, there was Harold Hamm, who epitomizes the American dream. This is a guy who started out pumping gas at a service station and ended up a billionaire by pioneering deep vertical drilling in North Dakota. He proved that fortunes can be found miles beneath the Earth's surface.
Talk about a wildcatter who struck it rich. From filling gas tanks to tapping into vast oil reserves, that's quite a journey.
Yeah.
It really highlights how the shale boom wasn't just a technological revolution. It was a story about people, ambition, and the relentless pursuit of opportunity. But let's be honest, not everyone was thrilled about this new wave of shale players, right? I imagine the established oil giants weren't exactly throwing welcome parties for these upstarts.
You're right, there was definitely some tension. The old guard, with their deep pockets and decades of experience, suddenly found themselves facing off against a new breed of energy entrepreneurs. And no one embodied this new breed quite like Aubrey McClendon and Tom Ward, the duo behind Chesapeake Energy.
Chesapeake, weren't they the ones who essentially turned land acquisition into a high-stakes poker game?
They were known for their aggressive, some might even say audacious, land acquisition strategy. Forget about slow, traditional methods. McClendon and Ward were hosting town hall meetings, using computers to streamline land records, and basically cutting deals on the spot. They brought the speed of the internet to the oil patch.
It's like they took Silicon Valley's playbook and applied it to the oil fields. Pretty savvy, if you ask me. But we can't forget about our friend from last time, the guy who went from LA nightclubs to the energy industry. How does Sharif Suki fit into all of this?
Suki was a true visionary. He saw a golden opportunity that others missed. With this newfound abundance of natural gas unlocked by the shale boom, Suki realized it could be liquefied, turned into LNG, and shipped overseas. He recognized that global demand for natural gas was soaring, and the U.S., thanks to shale, was in a prime position to become a major LNG exporter.
From cocktails and nightclubs to pipelines and tankers, Suki definitely took an interesting path to energy mogul status. So we've got these larger-than-life characters, we've got groundbreaking technology, and we've got a whole lot of ambition fueling this shale revolution. But I have to ask, what about the other side of the coin? It couldn't have all been smooth sailing, right? What about those boom and bust cycles we always hear about in the energy industry and the environmental impact of it all?
You're right. It's impossible to talk about the shale revolution without acknowledging those complexities. The rapid growth brought about by the shale boom came with both tremendous opportunities and some significant challenges.
It's a classic double-edged sword of progress, innovation, and its unintended consequences. What were some of the less glamorous realities that played out in the heart of shale country? It's like those old gold rush towns booming with opportunity one minute, ghost towns the next. Were there any stories that really captured this sort of boom or bust reality?
One that comes to mind is the story of Liz and Matt Irish. They packed up and moved to Williston, North Dakota, right in the heart of the Bakken Shale Formation. Matt, a trucker, landed a job hauling water for fracking operations. Essential stuff, but dangerous work.
And I bet those trucker salaries in the Bakken were the stuff of legends.
Oh, absolutely. Matt was pulling in a hefty paycheck. But here's the catch. The cost of living in Williston had skyrocketed. They were shelling out something like $2,000 a month for a tiny apartment. Everything was inflated. Groceries, gas, you name it. Liz told Zuckerman, "We were making a fortune and going broke at the same time."
Wow, talk about a rock and a hard place. Even with a good-paying job, it sounds like the shale boom created a whole new set of winners and losers.
It was a complicated reality for sure, and it wasn't just individual lives being turned upside down. We're talking about a shift with enormous geopolitical implications as well. Remember how we talked about the U.S. being so reliant on Middle Eastern oil?
Right, practically joined at the hip for decades.
The shale revolution changed all that. Suddenly, the U.S. had leverage, a new kind of independence that sent ripples across the global stage.
So it wasn't just about oil wells and pipelines. It was about shifting power dynamics on a global scale. Did the Saudis suddenly put their OPEC meetings on hold?
Well, not quite, but it definitely shook things up. For starters, it gave the U.S. more clout when it came to foreign policy. Sanctions against countries like Iran, for example, could be enforced without as much worry about sending shockwaves through the global energy market.
It's amazing how energy independence can really change the game.
It was a game changer, no doubt about it. And then there's Russia. Remember how they've always used their vast energy reserves as a geopolitical chess piece?
Ah, yes. Putin and his pipeline politics. So how did the U.S. shale boom factor into that whole equation?
Let's just say it added a whole new level of intrigue. The U.S., flush with its own natural gas reserves, could now counter some of Russia's moves, especially when it came to supplying European markets.
Talk about turning the tables. So we've got this incredible story of technological innovation, economic upheaval, and geopolitical shifts. But we can't wrap things up without addressing the elephant in the room. What about the environmental impact of fracking? All those concerns about water contamination, earthquakes, methane leaks, Those are serious issues.
Absolutely. And these are concerns that Zuckerman delves into much deeper in the full text of the Frackers. He explores the potential for groundwater contamination, the challenges of handling wastewater, and the release of methane, a potent greenhouse gas, during the fracking process.
So like most things, it seems there's a trade-off, a balancing act between the potential benefits and the potential risks of this new technology.
Exactly. And that's really the message we want to leave our listeners with today. The shale revolution, for all its triumphs and controversies, is a powerful reminder that technological advancements often come with unforeseen consequences. It underscores the importance of asking tough questions, engaging in informed debate, and recognizing that progress isn't always a straight line.
It's a reminder that the choices we make today about how we extract and consume energy have far-reaching implications for our economy, our environment, and our place in the world. Well, folks, that's the shale gas revolution. A story of ambition, innovation, and unintended consequences. A story that continues to unfold even as we speak.
And as with all things energy, it's a story worth following closely.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep diving deeper.